Thank you for joining us for Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Hello, everyone out there, and thanks for joining us for a special youth-focused conversation with a dynamic guest that's innovating in the youth financial education space. Jannine Glista is the CEO and producer at Biz Kids, and with us today. Biz Kids is so incredible, you guys. They have an amazing award-winning TV series about money and business featuring young entrepreneur stories, money content, and startup tools, and real kids who launch real businesses. Biz Kids, and there's a money sign for the S, that's my favorite part, is a fun half-hour TV series about kids, money, and business. Students also love their popular book, How to Turn $100 into $1 Million, and we're going to talk more about that later on the show. They are also closely collaborating with the community at elementary schools and bringing education and fun activities to the classroom. Jannine, we'll have to talk more about the money vortex later on, too, where kids have a chance to grab cold, hard cash. Biz Kids is a long-established partner to credit unions, and Jannine and I are geeking out a bit because it's also Credit Union Youth Month. And because we're passionate about empowering youth through education, we are so excited to welcome Jannine Glista to the studio. Jannine, so fortunate to have you here on the show to celebrate Youth Month with us, and I didn't mean to call you a geek.
I am a geek when it comes to kids and money and financial education, so thanks for having me.
So we just held an educational webinar about teaching kids the language of money because we know it's so important to initiate these conversations. And with technology, we should be thinking about having these talks at an earlier age with youth. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say as soon as possible.
Okay.
I would say probably in elementary school, the number one thing is to open a savings account. Of course, we love credit unions, but you know, a savings account anywhere would be great, and get kids making a regular habitual deposit. So every week go with them, no matter how big or how small, just get that really good early habit formed as young as possible.
And then talk about the age that we should start to have these conversations, because what we keep hearing is that it should start younger and younger. And I think the assumption might be maybe when they turn 13 and they're eligible to have an account. But I've got a 10-year-old at home, and she's been purchasing Roblox and things on the internet and needing money at school and things earlier and earlier on. So what age would you say kind of is a sweet spot to start having these conversations or getting that account opened?
Yeah, I think elementary school is perfect because that's when they're learning about denominations and the value of money and what money can buy. And again, if you get them opening that savings account and that habit established really early in elementary school, that will bode them well by the time they get to middle school, because that's around the time kids start getting their first debit card.
Right.
Some of them are actually getting their phones in middle school as well. And we want to get to them before all the advertisers do, because once they get their phone, then they can see, oh, you know, so-and-so is wearing, you know, this, or I need these sneakers or whatever, like the pressure to compete with their peers and to be affected by all the ads that they're seeing on their phone. Like we really need to get to them before the advertisers do.
Yeah. Are you noticing, too, that kids are starting to have to use digital payments and pay with their phone earlier now, too?
Yeah, and that you actually brought up a good thing. Like, I use, you know, my phone a lot more than ever, you know, to pay for things, and that's trickling down to the kids too. Yeah. And money isn't even like real anymore. Like, you don't handle it as much as you used to. You don't see it as much as you used to. And, you know, our research has shown that people who actually live more of a cash existence end up spending maybe 18% less, because nobody wants to break that 20, right?
Yep.
So for kids, like if they're just starting out and they're starting to rely on their phones more than ever for making payments and purchasing things, like the concept of holding on to money, it's not even real, right? It's like this vague concept. And that's why I think, you know, getting them to start young, understanding money before they get their phones is just so important.
Yeah. Are you also of the school of thought that it's just never too early to start having conversations, no matter how complex or how simplified?
Well, I think elementary school is really good time frame. And I think, you know, a lot of people underestimate kids' ability to understand complex money topics. For example, I've been working closely with Val Chapman, who has an organization called Financial Literacy for Kids, and we've been working at a Title I school in Oakland. And she's done a lot around the SIFMA stock market game, and kids in grades 4 and 5 have placed first in their category for 6 sessions in a row. And that's kids who are 9 and 10 with a virtual trading account. And then also we've worked with the same population, the same kids, 9 and 10 years old, to launch businesses and go out into doing street festivals as young entrepreneurs. And they're making their money and they're putting it into their savings account. So, you know, that's grades 4, 5. You know, I feel like that's a good time. That's a good time frame for them to learn.
Excellent. That's incredible. Never too early. So Biz Kids has been around since 2008, and you guys have really done it all. It started your first 5 years with the really successful TV show, and then you guys moved on to online games. You had the book, of course. You guys also have online courses available for kids too. But we met because we recently did a joint event out in Oakland where we were with a classroom. They did a field trip at our Patelco Oakland branch, and then we convened for this great event where we had the money vortex, and I'm probably butchering the name there.
The hurricane of money.
The hurricane of money. In my head, it was the money vortex. But can you talk about why, you know, we have all these amazing digital resources, the show, the book, etc. Why did you guys feel it was important to get back in person, back to the community and in front of the kids?
Well, in the last year, I've done a lot of work in the Oakland Unified School District helping kids learn how to launch businesses. And we noticed that the hands-on experiences really were having an impact. And it's a way to stand out from all the work they do in the classroom as well. And so we're launching these live interactive money pop-up events where kids can experience these really fun large props and games that tie to specific money concepts. And our goal is to base all of this around regional and national business pitch competition. And it's a way to engage kids on a completely different level that's super memorable. And we're also able to pull in community partners like credit unions or financial literacy advocates or smart debit card companies. And it's a way to create kind of a community partnership around uplifting a whole region. So we're really hoping to launch that in Oakland this year and then expand along the West Coast between 2025 and 2026.
Amazing. And I think we can both agree that event we had a month ago, was super successful. And I mean, I think we measure that success just by the enthusiasm of the kids on that day. But even the principal and the teachers got behind it, and they were all excited about it. Just a great day overall.
Yeah, the kids are still asking, and when's Miss Jannine coming back with her hurricane of money?
Not the money vortex.
But, you know, that event, we had 120 students.
Incredible.
We had 5 or 6 principals from schools in the Oakland Unified School District. We had the SIFMA Foundation, the California Department of Education. We had a couple financial literacy advocates, and then 10 banks and credit unions were represented. So we can pull together a strong community partnership to uplift kids in a region and help them become financially and economically empowered.
Okay, so Biz Kids is a super innovative way to appeal to youth with this concept of making $1 million. Jannine, I've also got a 13-year-old son who is super incentivized by money. He just has an awareness of spend and costs, and he's very focused on getting to his $1 million. Why is this concept and approach with young people so successful?
Well, historically, our show and our content has been really successful because we use humor, because humor ties to emotion, and it's a great way for kids to remember concepts. We also have a really uncanny way of making a vague concept super visual. And then also we've got these stories of young entrepreneurs. So kids are more open to learning from their peers. And they're also inspired to replicate what they're seeing on the television series and also like on our blog and our webinars that we do. So I think the combination of humor, making something really visual that's vague, and then also these inspiring stories of young entrepreneurs goes a long way to helping kids learn about money. And then to your point about your son, like the $1 million, like, you know, everybody wants to be a millionaire, right?
Right, me included.
Right. You know, it just has a nice ring to it. So, yeah. And it's possible. It's possible for kids to become millionaires if they start young enough. And you know, that's the concept in the book that, you know, we tease them along that they can become a millionaire if they follow the not so secret to turning $100 into $1 million.
All right, so let's talk about this book, and we are going to gift a lucky listener a copy of this book later. You talked about being creative and illustrative, and this book definitely accomplishes that. You co-authored this book. Again, it's How to Turn $100 into $1 Million. Tell us about the inspiration for this.
Oh, gosh. Well, around season 5, we just felt like there was so much more content that we wanted to share than could fit in a 30-minute episode. Like, there was always stuff being left on the cutting room floor, right, in the edit room, and technically speaking. And so we felt like if we had a book, we could do a deeper dive, and we could lay a complete foundation from beginning to end on what a child needs to do to become financially independent. Because each episode could only focus on one specific topic, but a book could be much broader based, and we could probably reach a different audience, maybe people who weren't able to tune into a series. And then we ended up developing bonus content for parents to go along with the book. So parents could log online. We cherry-picked, top videos that correspond to each chapter, and they could watch the video, share that with their child, use a downloadable digital tool, and it all corresponds to the entire book. So they could start having this natural conversation in the family.
And it's really great because there's pretty complex principles in here. I'm seeing this calculation for compound interest.
Yeah.
And again, really creative and visual and easy to understand, because that's a pretty hard principle to teach, isn't it?
Yeah, we really break it down and we lead them along. Like we don't start there, of course. Like we get them understanding the concept of interest, and then eventually build up to this not-so-secret to turning $100 into $1 million, which is the power of compound interest. And I will tell you, once kids know and understand how compound interest works, they start making different decisions about their money. They're not so eager to spend it, right? Because they realize that, if they can save $1,000, you could plug that into a compound interest calculator and see how much it'll be in 50 years.
Yeah.
It's actually mind-blowing.
If I let it sit, it will grow, right? And I can't tell you, Jannine, how many times, and we're out in the community, our teams, talking to adults and teaching adults, and there's still so many older folks who don't understand compound interest. So again, going back to the point of the earlier the better, and there is a way to demonstrate it, a complex principle at an early age, just by the way that you frame it.
Actually, we did, in one of our episodes on compound interest, what we did is we took one of our hosts, we dressed her up in hockey gear, because the graph that shows the power of compound interest mimics a hockey stick. And it starts off, not very much happening in the first, couple of years, but then it really takes off.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the ways we used, something kind of visual.
And just before the show, we were talking about hockey, so no surprise that you guys incorporated a hockey stick into the theory. I love
being
that.
Canadian, I might have had a little influence on that sketch.
Okay, I see a quote from Bill Nye, the science guy, on the back of the book here. What's Bill Nye got to do with the book?
Oh, gosh. Well, he's a big supporter of Biz Kids. My original business partners on Biz Kids were the creators of Bill Nye, the science guy. And we always say that compound interest is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. So it's almost scientific.
That's incredible.
How you can use compound interest to turn $100 into $1 million.
All right. Well, I think we're hearing a lot about getting started early, initiating the conversation with our young people. What would you say about getting over that hurdle of just getting the conversation started? Well, you guys are doing a ton in the community now, trying to go into the classroom and start that conversation. What advice would you give to parents out there about, finding the right time, place, et cetera, to initiate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can understand how some parents might feel a little intimidated about starting because maybe they don't feel like they know everything, but I think you don't have to know everything. I said the first step, and just start small to make a big change. Start small and get your child to open that savings account and make those regular deposits. And then the second thing would be to help them make money, help them make and sell something, and that will light a fire.
Interesting.
That will really light a fire with the child to continue on their journey to financial independence. And I think there's so many resources out there online, even with Biz Kids. Our book is a great way to initiate conversations. And I think a lot of times the child will lead the parent about what they want to learn about money.
Interesting. I'm going to ask you something totally off cuff, not part of our prep or outline. What's your take on allowance? You brought up a good point there. It's getting money into the kids' hands so they can practice, they can ask questions, they can put it into practice, so to speak. What's your thoughts on allowance?
Yeah, we actually did an episode on allowance, and we were careful to be agnostic about it because some parents feel like it needs to be tied to chores to be able to earn the allowance, and other parents feel like, no, we're just going to give the child money so they can learn how to use it. And I think it can work both ways depending on the family and their circumstances. But I think whatever you decide to do, once kids have some of their own money, then they become more engaged about what to do with it. Like it's really hard to teach them concepts like interest or investing if they don't have some of their own money. But the minute they have their own money, they're a lot more engaged.
Yeah, it's more relevant to them when it's in their hands.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, folks. Well, to learn more about Biz Kids, you can visit their website at bizkids.com. Jannine, there's a special offer for schools and groups to purchase this book, right, on the website?
Yes. They can go to bizkids.com/book, and that's where they can find and order a copy of the book. We also offer discount for orders over 25. So if someone wants to sponsor a classroom, we can help them with that and do a webinar and connect with the teachers, do some training there. And then there's also the bonus content for parents on that page as well.
Okay, amazing. And there's a discount on the purchase too?
That's right, 25% discount.
Okay, awesome, folks. Well, the book again is called How to Turn $100 into $1 Million, and it's available on Amazon. And we're going to gift a lucky listener a copy of the book. All you have to do is send us an email at webinars@patelco.org, and we'll pick a random winner to get a copy of this awesome book. Jannine was nice enough to give us a copy, and I'm going to share it with my kids. I can't wait.
Thank you.
All right. And then we're also encouraging, it is Credit Union Youth Month, Jannine. This is our favorite month of the year. Also encouraging everybody out there to not only enhance your financial knowledge, check out Biz Kids, check out their TV show and the book, but get started in initiating that savings account. We have a student checking account also for teens ages 13 to 17, and you can find all that information on Patelco's website at patelco.org. That's patelco.org. Jannine, thank you so much for making the trek down here to the studio and celebrating Credit Union Youth Month with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for today on Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Happy Youth Month, everyone. We'll see you next time. Patelco Credit Union is insured by NCUA. Hey guys, thanks for watching. To subscribe, click here. To watch the next video, click here. See you next time.